After over 700 games, we finally concluded the second season of T90 Titans League. We had the silver bracket, which was the qualifier for gold. We had the gold league and the platinum league, and then all the way towards the finals. There were promotions, there were relegations, there were lots of thrills, lots of spills, and finally it is concluded. So while I'm a little tired right now, because the time we're recording this, it's quite late, this is a must-make review video where I talk through things and what has happened. And I am going to start off by saying thank you to everyone who's watching this right now, as I've been really happy with all the feedback on the event. Near the end of this video, we will talk briefly on plans for the future of this event, things that maybe I'd like to tweak, and things that are challenging for us to continue this format. But we're going to start off with how it all started back in December with Silver. So for those that missed it, Silver was a giant knockout bracket, and we had 9 spots to fill from the first season of Gold, due to 8 players being relegated, and then 1 player not being able to play. And these were the players who ended up moving on to Gold. We had Lix, Lan, Derp, Hart, Gabby, Mihai, Whitecourt, Samaro, and then Overtaken. And those players had to play 4 rounds, which they did. And for some of these players, these are massive achievements. Gabby, for example, going further into an Age of Empires 2 tournament than she has ever been able to accomplish. Maybe Samaro, maybe Whitecourt. Names that we'll talk about more, but basically they moved on and they went to Gold after a 4-week intense knockout bracket against crazy competition. And then in Gold, we had some crazy results with Freaking Andy, Sobek, Dogao, and Fat Dragon getting promoted to Platinum for the next season. And then in the playoffs, we had Daniel, Classic Pro, Lix, and Margugu going up to Platinum League. I think what's most notable here, since we're relating it to Silver, is that only 4 of the 9 players who were promoted to Gold were actually relegated back out of Gold and down to potential Silver bracket. Whitecourt, Gabby, Overtaken, and Samaro. The other players played quite well. Hart, for example, I think he's going to be back in business. Hart might be a favorite to be able to be promoted for the next season. Mihai, same situation. Young, motivated player, played very well. I wasn't able to get through a playoff stage. And then Lan, an unfortunate circumstance for him, with 11 wins in his group, ended up losing his playoff versus Margugu, a player who only had 7 wins and 8 losses. And so Lan will be back in business. With the way this format works, things should just get closer and closer, more balanced. And Silver this time around just had a lot of players that hadn't been playing tournaments that are well known and have a ton of skill. So I'd expect that possibly the next time that Silver rolls around, that maybe those players will be more favored to be relegated. But we'll, of course, see when Season 3 happens. So again, the big names that got promoted, Freaking Andy, Sobek, Dogao, Fat Dragon, and then Daniel, Classic Pro, Lix, and Margugu. They will all be joining the relegated spots from Platinum League. And man, oh man, did we have some crazy relegations this year. We had, I say this year, I really should say this season. We had Vinchester, the winner of the first season, the guy who was 13-2 in total wins before winning the final. He's relegated. He's down to Gold. With that, we have Nikov as well. And what's most notable here is like Valis and Running. These were promoted players from Gold. People probably expected them to get relegated, but due to a 4-way tie and a bunch of tiebreakers, they actually survive. Group B, we had MBL and Dark getting relegated. MBL, not a player you would have expected. Again, MBL won his group the first season. I think he was maybe 11-4. I forget exactly what. Big shocker there. Another one that's maybe a surprise. Ganji worked his way to 3rd place. Ganji was a promoted player. He sent down Kapoch alongside Kingston. And then Sato and Sebastian, 2 big names here. They're going to be heading back down to Gold with Barles able to survive with a crazy, crazy victory versus Sato in the final week. That's just the relegations. Obviously, you can see how things lined up there in the groups as well. With Platinum, you then had to talk about the playoffs. And guys, we had some ridiculous playoffs. The quarterfinals onwards, the level was just ridiculous. And this isn't forgetting about the round of 12, because the round of 12 was great. But 3-2 Leary win over ACCM. 3-1 Hera win over Veleza. Tato 3-2 over Yo. And then Viper 3-2 over maybe the best Jordan I've ever seen. Leading to a crazy 4-3 Hera victory in the semifinal. And then a 4-1 victory from Viper over Tato. And then Viper dominant display over Hera, as he was also over Tato in the semifinal, truthfully. And Viper just doing Viper things. It was a crazy season. We had a lot of games. I don't know if I'm correct on this number, but someone tallied up 716 total games before the final. So what is that? 721 total games if you combine platinum, gold, and silver all together. And you could maybe hear it in the tone of my voice, but I'm a little tired after all of that. Coming into this season, I wanted to do a couple things differently, and the main thing was coverage. The first season, because we were overlapping with another S-tier event, I had to make it so players could basically play whenever, and it was tough for me as a content creator because I really wanted to be able to cover games. But in order for the season to get a liftoff, I basically said players could play live whenever, and sometimes I covered them and sometimes I didn't. This resulted in a situation where I might start my stream at 16 GMT, but then a series had already started at 15 GMT, so I'd just cover something else and then I'd cover the Rex later. It was an uncomfortable thing for me to not be able to cover all the sets. So what we tried to do this time was make it so I would cover everything, and even in the event that we did recorded games, none of those results would be spoiled. And I initially went into it saying I wouldn't cast every series, but then I was so interested and I just kept going and kept pushing, and we actually covered every single series in Platinum and then covered some sets from Gold and then Deciders of Gold. It was a lot. Titans Leagues has spanned a long time. I think we learned a lot about how consistent you need to play in Age of Empires 2 right now at a high level. And I was really happy with all the feedback we got from viewers. I was extremely happy with the viewership. And another side note, as this is also going to the Extras channel on YouTube, was especially happy with how many people were watching some of the sets on another YouTube channel, because the health of my main YouTube channel is important to me, and I knew that like spamming Titans League sets would probably not be good for it. So it was extremely hard for me to do Titans League and then also balance out the way content works on the main channel. That was something that me and my team had to work hard on, making sure it was still presentable for everybody. But we did it, and it was really solid. So thank you guys very much, Extras channel people, for being interested in the format. I would say 5 of the 8 people that got relegated out of Platinum were big surprises. And when I started this format, a lot of people were saying that it was just going to be the same people getting promoted and relegated season after season. It is clear that every single game mattering has a huge effect. For example, Draken being 1 and 4 in his total sets, but never getting swept, always getting win out of every series before a very important 3-0 win versus MBL. I love the format. And while there are some tweaks to how we will cover things in the future, maybe the time frame in the future, I think the every game mattering format is unique and is perfect for this type of system. The only thing that was maybe predictable about this season was the Final 4, or maybe even the Final 8 in some people's eyes. But everything else about this season, from Silver, from Gold, onto the mid to lower levels of Platinum, was insane. And I'm excited to see what this does to some of the relegated players from Platinum when they go down to Gold. And I'm also excited to see some of the promoted players from Gold in the next season try and do what Valis, Running, and Draken, and Ganji have done and stay up and really show what they're capable of. Now, there's been a lot of talk about this format. There's been a lot of positivity, but there also are things that I feel that we could do better. Coverage, for example, and the order of games was a difficult challenge for us this season because we knew that there were certain circumstances for many players, especially being around the holiday season, where if we were to be extremely strict on when they would play, they might not be able to participate at all. And with this type of format, if a player can't play, their spot needs filled, which then creates a hole in the league below, which then creates another hole in the league below that. So we did our best to make sure that we could compromise with everyone. Backed, for example, he had large gaps in when he was able to play. So he played 2 rounds, and then there was a bit of a break, and then he played 3 rounds afterwards. Not an ideal situation, but a situation that we basically had to do. Otherwise, for Backed and maybe 4 or 5 other players, they wouldn't have been able to participate at all, and then the whole system kind of falls apart. I think most of those struggles are struggles that we can avoid in a season number 3 because we wouldn't be doing it right after the holidays. December, January, leading into February is just the worst possible time to do a format that's this in-depth. So we made a lot of work for ourselves trying to do it at this time. But I don't want to spend a great deal of time talking about things that I'd like to go differently in this particular video. But I did want to note that there are things that I'm aware that I'd like to change. And there are also, to take it even more seriously, things that will have to change, I feel, for me to be able to justify the energy and effort to try and build this up over time. I want to be clear on something here about Titans League. This is a great starting point, but my long-term goal is always to establish this league and then appeal to sponsors. And we create a culture around that. The sponsors are excited to work within Age of Empires, and we can continue this further down the line. As awesome as this is, I see this all as a really good starting point, and I'd like to build off this over the course of the next year or two and see where we can take it. So if these things interest you and you're kind of curious on what I mean by all this, when I'm back from a bit of a break, I'm going to make a video called The Future of Titans League, and I'm going to talk about the things that I felt were challenging from an admin and creator point of view, some imbalances within the scene, which could create some issues with this type of format. And we're just going to sit down and we're going to talk about everything. And it's going to be in depth. I'm going to say, this is an issue I had. I don't know how to fix it. This is an issue I had. I think this is how I fix that. And I think it'd be really important because I think you as a viewer, you guys as a community will have more of an idea on how these things are happening and how much effort, energy is put into X, Y, or Z. But then also that could maybe lead to a greater connect between myself and players as well as we try and build this thing up for everybody. So I haven't got the official green light yet, but I believe it's fair to say that we are unofficially on for season number 3 for Titans League. Again, it's an unofficial green light. I haven't got the official green light, but I'm pretty sure we're close on that. I believe Microsoft's been very happy with things, and it seems like the player base has been awesome with it as well. So with that, I'll kind of keep this video short, guys. That's everything. We just wanted to sum up the leagues. I wanted to touch on a few key points and just say thank you everyone who is interested in this. I put more work into this event than I put into any event ever. It was exhausting, but it was rewarding. And the cool thing about the format is the longer it goes, the more you can't look away because of how every game matters and just how the format runs. So whether you made a forum post or a forum comment, showed up to a stream or showed up to a video, I just want to say thanks. There have been instances over the years where I feel like my effort and energy for something in particular might be overlooked or taken for granted. And for the most part, I really have felt appreciated, and I felt like this event's sticking for the community. So thank you guys. Final little shout out goes to Hardy, who's going to be editing this video. Also Ugly, for all the hard work managing all the channels. We still have plenty of ideas and things I want to do to grow this game and grow the channel, but both of you did an amazing job. So thank you so much to them. And thank you to JBR, who came in as the admin for this, and admin silver, gold, and then also platinum from a very awkward time zone over there in Australia. And I know he's got a young one right now, and he's got a lovely wife. He's got a family, guys, and he put a lot on the line in terms of his time and energy over the last 2 months. Probably has a few more gray hairs or something because of this. So yeah, like I said, in a week or two, I hope to find the time to sit down and we'll kind of talk in depth on Titans League, because there are things that I'd love to run differently for the players, for myself and for any viewers out there, and ultimately things that I think that are going to need to happen so we could build this up to be what I want in the long term. And I can also talk in more detail of what that long term means in that video. But for now, again, it was a big thank you. Thanks again, everyone, for everything you've done. And I'm hoping you're looking forward to season 3. Oh, and I guess as the final thing, this channel's going to start to get extra stuff from other things now. So don't unsubscribe. There will be occasional gameplay stuff here, but there are instances as well where we use this channel for extras. It's just Titans League was a lot of stuff. So I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but extras will still be getting content, so you can still keep an eye out for it. That's it. I am tired. I'm going to go to bed. See you guys. Thank you very much for listening.